Good evening. Hello, you all, and welcome to a slightly different Jim's Monday Malt Samples. I hope you're all well. It is good to be back once again. I'm not usually back straight away, as this was, I of course had a live stream last week with Whiskey Straight Al, and just decided to come back this week again because I was doing something a little different. Now, what is different about it? Well, it's going to be a blind challenge tonight. I haven't done not a full blind challenge for quite a while. Anybody who was following me on Instagram back in the day, back from the start, I was doing, I was setting myself some blind challenges. I did an Irish blind challenge, different scotches, things like that. And this one then, a friend of mine in the whiskey community, Graeme, who has just joined in here, and when we get into the chat in a wee second, Graeme asked me recently, was I still doing blind challenges? I haven't done one, as I say, in a long time. I'm quite happy to take up the challenge. So, yeah, of course, I was quite happy to take on such a challenge. So the next thing then, he sent me through 6 rather healthy samples, all numbered like this, and 2 envelopes. This one and this one. So obviously this is the one that'll be open. But before I go any further, I'm going to jump into the chat just and say hello properly. Good to see so many of you in already. I wanted to give a shout out to Robert Palmer, who was here and had to go because he has to spend some dreaded quality time with. I'm saying no more, Robert, but I just said I would give him a shout out. Good to see Menno was in here asking, is it a Speyside? I'll get to that. Greg, good to see you, my friend. Frank Peathead is in. Graham Horner, good to see you. Peter Box, Lee J. Brown, Whiskey Graham, as I said. Whiskey Straight Al, good to see you, my friend. So, good evening, good evening. The questions, I'll tell you what I'm going to do before I go any further. Steve Whiskey Brer, hello. Desi Vleeland, hello. Good to see you dropping in. What I'm going to do before we go any further is to say this challenge was set to me by Whiskey Graeme McNeil. Graeme, if you're on Instagram, I know some of you in here aren't on Instagram. If you're on Instagram, you maybe know Whiskey Graeme. If you don't, I'm going to put a link to Graeme's Instagram, and I would recommend you check him out. He's a good lad, very, very much so. Billy Saunders, hello, good to see you. Yes, so this is a blind challenge, completely blind. I don't know what is in this envelope. This, as I say, is obviously what is in the blind samples. I'm hoping that this will give me some clues. Whiskey Pilgrims in. Good evening, Frederick. Good to see you. So, yes, I can tell you that I poured these samples about half an hour ago. And what I'm actually going to do now is I have them poured and capped, and I'm actually going to remove the caps now and let a little air at them. And I can tell you that from nosing them, I didn't go deep into them. Obviously, I didn't. But I wanted to have them poured just to let them get a little air at them. And I can tell you that, to me, they're bourbon, or bourbons, or they're certainly American or world whiskies. Whiskey Wims, good to see you, Stuart. I hope you're feeling a little better. Stuart and I, now, we didn't do this together, but I have to confess, I have to admit that I maybe overindulged a little yesterday. There was anybody that's seen maybe my Instagram feeds would see that there was a bit of a bottle killing yesterday, a bit of a bottle killing session here at Ingram Heights, because I had killed a bottle of Yellow Spot with very little. I've got an awful lot of Irish whiskies here with like this in the bottom, and it turned out that whenever I did actually pour them, so there was a couple of bottles literally had 2 drams in them. So I had one, my wife had one, and these bottles were just sitting. And let's face it, the more air was getting in there, the worse these bottles were going to get. So I just decided enough's enough. We'll kill some of these off, and we killed off 4 or 5 over the period of the weekend. Now, when I say we killed off 4 or 5 balls, they were literally balls with this in the bottom of them. So it's not like as if it was a mad session. But yesterday, just more than I probably should have had. So I'm suffering a little for it today. Plus the fact that the pollen count is incredibly high at the moment here, and I tend to suffer a little bit of hay fever. Not really bad, but just some. So I'm just feeling a bit. But let's get some whiskey in us and see if that'll improve things. Now, I have 6 samples down here, each one of them numbered, and each one of my glasses is numbered to match. So there you go. This first one has a great nose. Great nose. Now, I'm going to open this and get this thing going. We'll try and move it along. I'll not know until I open this what necessarily Graeme's looking for. I have a book in front of me, and as you can see, what I have on at the minute for each of them is sort of ABV. So I'm going to be trying, I would imagine, to sort of get a feel at least for what the ABV is in that. Is it 40, is it 40 over? Obviously it'll be 40 or over. Is it, so it's that sort of feel, because I would suggest, to say from the nose in these, they're American or Canadian, certainly that side of the water. Billy Saunders saying, looking forward to watching you doing this whiskey novice. Billy, I am nervous now because I have let myself down in the past. I've done in the blind ones that I did last year on Instagram, blind lives. I did either 4 or 5, and the first one was scotches, and there were just, I think it was just a range of scotches, and it was 5 scotches, and my wife poured them for me, and they were all individual, and I got 5 for 5, and I was delighted, and I thought, this is going to be great. I'm going to love this. And then I went into Irish ones, and it just went downhill. And I really blew it. And it was one of, I think, the last blind challenge that I set myself. I think I got 1 out of the 5 correct. And so it wasn't that it put me off blind challenges, but I just haven't done one for a while. So, right, well, he's actually given me, this is the piece of paper that now I'm going to be working on what I would imagine I'll be working off ABV and what I know. And now I'm not massive, and I like my American whiskies, I like my bourbons, I like my ryes, but I just, an awful lot of them tend to taste the same to me. Now, having nosed these, they're all very different, so that's a good start. Now, he says, Jim, as promised, a few bourbon rye samples to have a go at. Done these blind for you for a bit of fun. The answers are in the other envelope. No cheating. Hope you're well. Blah, 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 blah. So, we have Sagamore Rye. We have Jim Beam's signature craft 12-year-old, New Riff single barrel bourbon, Booker's, is that shiny barrel batch? That's what it looks like. Could be wrong. 1792 single barrel, and Rabbit Hole Boxer's Grail Rye, which I've never heard of. Never heard of. So we're looking at 2 ryes, and this is. So I'm going to give you another quick history, not a history lesson. David Owen, good evening. Just a little more insight into whiskey. Graeme McNeil. Graeme travels a lot with work. Obviously, current situation that has changed. Loves his American whiskies, bourbons, ryes, and that's where he gets them, right from the source as such, which is brilliant, because here, and I'm sure it's the same for any of you in Europe, certainly this side of the pond, Chrisamere, good evening, my friend. These American, but especially now that, and nothing to do with the current situation that's in the world, but just to buy this side of the pond is ridiculously expensive, and you get the bottle hunters, you get the people looking for for all those fancy ones that you just can't pick up, the pappies and all. We've all heard it. We do look, and I like, as I said, I do like my bourbons. I do that, but I refrain from buying them because they're just too expensive. Graeme has sent me some fantastic samples over the last couple of years that we've known each other, and I can't thank him enough. So let's get into this. That's about just over 10 minutes, as I say. Let's try and get this done and dusted within an hour. Now, yet again, I'm not too bad here, but he's actually told me what I'm trying. So, as I said, there's 2 ryes on there. I'll try and find them. He's given me the ABVs for everything here. So I'm hoping that ABV will tell virtually every sample here is, I don't know if you can see, but the colors are very, very similar. It's American whiskey, isn't it? The color doesn't really come into it, or chill filter, anything like that there. So there's we're looking at anything with age. The Booker's is quite well. The Jim Beam is 12-year-old, so there might be a bit of oakiness. Might be able to find a bit of age on it. Now, this, as I say, is number 1, and I would say straight off the bat that the ABV is high on it. So we're looking at either the New Riff. Well, you could be looking at either the New Riff, the Booker's, that 1792 single barrel, or the Rabbit Hole, which you again never heard of. So Graeme's saying that he thinks the ABV, you could be 100% right, Graeme, 100% right, because we all know that the ABV can catch you out. Sometimes it feels an awful lot higher than it is. Sometimes it feels an awful lot softer, which is usually the way around. I find that I think something's incredibly soft. Oh, it must be very low ABV, and then you discover that no, this is something that's 49%, but it just plays and feels an awful lot softer than. I liked this straight away whenever I poured it. Great, lovely nose on it. Lovely. Now, there's something very, very oaky and even polish. I tend to get oak and polish almost go side by side. But this is, I would certainly say that it's 45 plus. So I would take 46 plus. So I would take the Sagamore rye, and it doesn't smell like a rye. It doesn't have those rye notes, but it doesn't have those rye notes. It smells like a bourbon. It's got the oaky notes. And yet again, I've made a fool out of myself doing blinds before, so that could happen here as well. So Graeme Horner, now these are two different Graemes. So there's Graeme Horner, Graeme McNeil. Graeme McNeil sent me these, Graeme Horner, but both Northern Ireland men. And he's saying about the ABV in 1792 could catch me out. And I'm going to ask Graeme, did it feel softer? When you're saying it caught you out, did it feel softer than it was? Because it's, according to Graeme's list here, Graeme McNeil's list, it's bottled 49.3%. So that certainly puts this in it, because I would say that, as I said, this is I would say it's above 46. So really all I'm doing is taking out the Sagamore rye and the Jim Beam. I'm going to do my first pass. Des, good evening. I'm going to do my first pass on the nose alone and see if I can narrow them down. Second one. So Graeme Horner's saying that the 1792 was softer than he thought it would be. So I reckon that was quite high. So just for S&Gs, I'm going to, just on the nose, suggest that one is either the Booker's or the New Riff. Just literally on the first pass, that could change. That's very soft. This is number 2. Very, very gentle. Let's see. Can you see that without me spilling this all around myself? Very gentle, slightly minty note. So you could be talking, we'll say there's a slightly minty note. It's very soft. This could be a rye. Just on the nose, I would say that's a softer, lower ABV. Yet again, this is the first pass. This is only the first time I've tried number 2 on the nose. So I could get through the rest of these and discover that they're even softer on the nose. But on the nose, I would say that is less than 46. Which brings in then the Jim Beam and the Sagamore rye. But it's not a bourbon nose on it to me. It's quite, it's totally different. Very, very nice. Very gentle, minty, green, vegetative. So I'm going to suggest that that is the Sagamore, just on the first pass. Remember, on the first pass. So round to 3. That's totally different again. That has got a very strong polish hint of it. Quite a low, not a big bite here at all. This is quite soft on the nose again. Very strange. Quite low. I don't think it's, I'm going to suggest Graeme's actually saying that this is the rabbit hole is MGP. So it's MGP sourced new make. I take it as what you mean. And yet again, just off the top of my head, I'm going to say that number 3 is the rabbit hole because it doesn't smell like a bourbon. It smells something different yet again. And the rabbit hole there is a rye. So, number 4. Now we're getting into nicer territory again. Not nice. There's nothing wrong with all of these. And what I'm going to do at the end, whenever I've given them a good taste, whenever I've made my decisions, no matter what they may be, good or bad, I will let you know which I liked best, and I'll let you know obviously what was the correct order, what they were. That's incredible. That's like cream soda. I don't know how many of you out there, anybody obviously from probably the UK and Ireland here and Scotland maybe will know what cream soda is. It's a fizzy vanilla, but I never nosed anything as vanilla as that, as cream soda as that. That's very nice. What the heck it is. So I'm just going to put a mark beside the ones that I have suggested already, just so as it gives me an idea on the way down what I may be looking at. This, as I said, oh, that's incredible. Very nice. It doesn't fight you once again, but I would suggest that it's a slightly higher ABV. So just and they're slightly woody as well. I'm going to suggest that that's the Jim Beam because it has age. It's got 12 years. I don't know. Maybe the other ones have age, but obviously, I would imagine they would claim them. Oh, there's a saying they have cream soda in Africa, South Africa. Excellent. It's a Des, do you want to take this up to explain it to Greg? It's very vanilla, sweet. It's a carbonated drink, basically. Wood, lots of wood in that. So yes, I'm going to suggest that 4 is the Jim Beam. 5. This is either going very well, very easily, or I'm completely wrong. And I would probably opt for the latter there, I would think. Oh, see, yet again, feels quite high. I've never actually I've had 1792 as a sample many moons ago. I think I had a Booker's, which I think Graeme sent me a Booker's at one point. Don't think I've had any of the rest of these, so I've nothing to work on. Yet again, woody and very vanilla forward. See, Graeme, Graham's having a having a bit of a pop there because he could have and the same man could have very easily given me 6 samples of Bushmills, and I would have been well beat if Graeme had sent. I would imagine if Graeme had sent me Irish whiskey here, I would have been beat yet again because you're looking at pretty much 3 distilleries. That's slightly higher in my opinion, and really at the minute, I've only got the 1792, which hasn't been pulled out. So I'm going to suggest that that's the 1792. Remember, these are all on the nose now. I haven't tasted any of these yet. Not that that might make an awful lot of difference. Honestly, I actually prefer to. I would almost prefer to nail something on the nose. Now, this is throwing a bit. This is number 6, and it's throwing a bit of a spanner in the works because this feels soft. Surprised how much mint I'm getting in these. Almost toothpaste. But there's a cardboard in that as well. Or woody notes. And it feels like it's less than 46%, but well, where did I have the Jim Beam? I had it at but certainly that one that I considered Jim Beam was an awful lot more woody. That feels very soft. Yet again, possibly slightly rye-like. So, unfortunately, I've got 3 now, which I think are ryes. So, here we go. Let's do a little bit of tasting, shall we, and find out. That first one. The first one for me has the best nose. So already, I can tell you that number 1, whatever it may be, wins the nose for me. It's big. It's got volume, and when I say it's got volume, I don't mean it's literal ABV. I mean that it fills the glass. Okay. Cheers, sláinte, and all that other good stuff. Prost. Yeah. Oh yeah. It's kind of chewy. That is high ABV. I'm convinced that is high ABV, no matter what, whether some of them are spiky, some of them are, whether you think they feel higher than they are, etc. That is, in my opinion, and remember, I could be wrong about all of this, but that, in my opinion, is a high ABV. Now, is it higher than 50? Because if it is, then it narrows it down to 2 of my choices. Yeah, I think it is. I definitely think it is. So that keeps that at either Booker's or New Riff, in my opinion, because they are both of high ABV here. The new riff is sitting at 56.45. Why the 4.5? I'll never understand. And the Booker's is 62. Is it over 50? Yes. Is it over 60? Don't know. Don't know. I would have to wait until I go around the rest. But very nice. It takes a moment to settle. As you've seen at the start, I've got plenty left in these samples, so I will add water for a second pass here. This is still the first pass in the palate. I'll add water from a second pass. What it's actually going to change, I don't know, because I don't know these whiskies. I've never had any of them before. So to actually pick them out and say, oh, here, that's Booker's. I've tasted Booker's before, and that's what Booker's is. No chance. Not going to happen. So, 2. Pardon me. This was the one that on the nose I thought was rye. I thought it was actually suggested it was the Sagamore rye because it's the lowest ABV. Here we go. This needs another wash, sorry. Remember, always cleanse your palate. I know Greg will back me up on this here. Yeah, it's still soft, but let's see what the palate brings. Palate would suggest that it's stronger than the nose did, which concerns me slightly. I still think it's a rye, but I'll have to wait until I go round the board a bit to figure out whether it's the Sagamore or the Rabbit Hole. I'm going to ask Graeme. Rabbit Hole is MGP sourced, okay. But where is it actually from? Which distillery is it from? Is there a Rabbit Hole? I've never heard of Rabbit Hole bourbon or rye or whatever this is. Still think that's a rye, but as to which one it is. So I've just kept rye highlighted on my paperwork here. 3 I thought was greater than a higher ABV. So I actually thought this was maybe the Rabbit Hole itself. Yeah, that's a strange, funky nose on that. There's yet again, there's a mintiness almost. Paint, I find paint, and when it's not, it never sounds like a very appealing thing, does it? But I like the smell. When I say paint, I mean modeling paint, like Airfix paint, that sort of thing. On some of these, and I get it on here. No, that's completely turned around. That's incredibly soft on the palate. I still think it's a rye. Could be wrong. I do. And I've actually changed my mind now. And I think I would actually suggest that 2 is the Rabbit Hole and 3 is the Sagamore. Because 2 certainly felt higher in the ABV than 3. This is very soft. There you are. Rabbit Hole Distilleries in Louisville, only opened in 2012. Thank you, Graeme. Interesting stuff. If this, whatever this is, this one, let's say this is number 3, I wouldn't be a massive fan. Not a bad nose, a bit funky, but it's got that, as I say, that modelling paint feel about it. Pardon me. Quite thin in the palate, and the finish just disappears. So, Graeme Horner, you've buggered Jim here. Well, early days, Graeme, early days. So that's actually 3 on the palate, on the first pass, on the nose, all of those. So far, of the first 3 that I've tasted, would be my one that I wouldn't be as big a fan of. It just tends to fade in the wrong places. So number 4, which to me on the nose was greater than 46%. I suggested it may be the Jim Beam Signature Craft 12-year-old. However, getting back into that, it didn't really make sense, because I was saying that I thought it was greater than 46%. I thought it was the Jim Beam, but it's only 43. It's only bottled at 43%. So I've actually Oh no, that is much higher than 46%, 43%. So it ain't the Jim. I wouldn't say it's the Jim Beam. Very cardboard wood. I would suggest that this is now going back to it. This is either the 1792 bottle of 49.3%, or maybe the new riff. Sorry, I'm way in the wrong direction. I wrote those in the wrong place. Big volume yet again. And as I say, when I say volume, I don't mean ABV. I just mean it's big. It's, to steal a word from Roy, it's got grip. Yep. Yeah, that's definitely, that's quite big. Yet again, wouldn't be a big fan of that one. It's quite, I'm trying to think of the best way to describe it. It's down the lines of the Woodford Reserve, the standard Woodford Reserve, which I wasn't a big fan of. That's better, quite a lot better, but just there's something in there. So moving on, 5, which, nosing again, is a bit rye-like as well. So It's very soft. That is very soft. I think it's bourbon. I think it's Jim Beam. Jim Beam was bottled at 43%. I like this. I do like that. Whatever the 5 is, I do like that. But I think it's bottled at a slightly lower ABV, so that would suggest maybe the Jim Beam, it feels like as if it's got a bit of age about it, which the Jim Beam has. Remember, most, well, I'm saying remember, I tell myself, most bourbons I find tend to have a something that pushes them a little above their weight. Sometimes the ABV is not as high as it would suggest. Now, this is the other one that I thought was the other rye. This is round the number 6. And I still think it's rye. And I actually think now that this is the Sagamore. Or do I? Or do I? I do. And I actually had it. I don't know why I had it suggested earlier. I'm going to have to go back to 3 again. This is where it all starts to get a little muddled for me. This is the one that I suggested was Sagamore on the nose. And now I'm suggesting on the palate as well. But I also thought that 3 was totally different nose. But that's very soft too. Slightly confusing. Now, yeah, because 2 also. Right. Right. Here we go. I'm going to try and find out or figure out in my head what 1 is. And then I can start and tick. I'm going to add a little water to this. There's not a lot of, there wasn't a lot of water in there, but just something. Because if I can start and tick these ones off and say that, well, I think that's what that is, then I might be able to narrow it down a little. Still, the nose on 1 is awesome. I'm not sure what it is. I'm wondering, did Graeme give me a hint earlier on by saying that the new riff was exciting? This is a quality nose. And a great palate too. That's right up my street. That is right up my street. But I think that's the Bookers. It's just so bald at 62%. I could be wrong. But I think that, and I'm going to add a new page here just so as Graeme now, I would imagine, maybe not frantically looking to find out what the actual answers are, but I'm sure he's probably having a good laugh down his sleeve at me. So, one, I reckon, is the Bookers. Which was the so I'm going to take 2 and 3 out of there for a moment and go to 4 because I thought it was either the 1792 or the new riff. Might add water to it. Sorry, bugger. Lots of water going in there. Is it safe to say I'm confused? Greg says when you say Bookers, he hears burgers. Fair enough, Greg. Did you not eat this evening? That's really, really cardboardy, that. And this is number 4. I originally thought on the nose was the Jim Beam. Then I changed my mind and thought it was the 1792 or the new riff. Shiny Barrel. It was Shiny Barrel. I thought that's what you had written down here, Graeme. And then I was starting to question myself. Not questioning your handwriting skills, my friend, but just I just thought I'd never heard of it. But you've done that before. You've sent me through some of these class samples I've just never heard of. America is just a melting pot for whiskey, isn't it? There's just distilleries everywhere, all these independent ones that you'll maybe never hear of over here. And I'm starting to think now that this, yet again, could be incredibly wrong. Number 4 is the new riff. I think I could go back again and change that. I'm not signing my name to it just yet, but the reason why I suggest it's got a high ABV feel again, but there's a lot of other things going on. So 5 on the nose, I thought was the 1792. On the palate, I'm going to add a little water on the palate. Sorry, Graeme, Booker's release 4. I think this is it 4 expressions or 4? There's 4 releases of this Shiny Barrel. And if so, how many roughly are they releasing? And are you talking? Is this a single barrel release? Are you looking, sort of 600-800 odd bottles per release? Just a question. Just curious, mate. This is number 5, and it's incredible smell of polish off it. I still think that's the Jim Beam. There's just something about it. Something washy, woody. It's nice, but just different expressions. I just feel like as if there's maybe a little age with this, which is suggesting to me that then that this is the Jim Beam. Yeah. So I now, in my head for now, I'll go over them again, but I've got 3 of the 6 nailed loosely down as to what I think they are. As I say, I'll go back over them again in a moment. Number 6, I was very confused about. Which ones have I got? I haven't got 2, 3, and 6 nailed down. So I'll go back to 2. I can't even remember what I added water to. 2 originally thought was rye, and now whenever I knows it, I don't think it is rye. So hmm. 2, I'm not convinced is a rye now. No, so now you'd be looking at 3 and 6 would be the 2 ryes. I'm trying to think of what is left. So I have roughly selected the Booker's, the New Riff, and the Jim Beam. So if this is bourbon, then you're looking at the single, but the 1792 single barrel. Graeme Horner said earlier that the 1792, although bottled at 49.3, didn't feel like it, but this, see, I'm really working off ABVs now. So I'm still confused. Sorry, Graeme, thank you. I just wanted to add that up there because I had heard, this is the thing, American, the heat there in most cases causing lots of issues with batch variation. David Owen, I've got my work. I have got my work cut out for me, David. This has become a bit of a struggle now. I didn't even realize how long it ran there, and what I'll actually do is at some point you have to give up, don't you, and say, right, here's what I think. So I'm on to number 3 again, which I thought was the Rabbit Hole, and I thought it was the Sagamore. I wasn't a fan, so still not a massive fan. Whatever it is, not a massive fan, and I actually think that it's the Sagamore. What I will say is, and what I'm really glad that Graeme has sent me these samples is because I haven't tried any of these. I've never made any massive statements about them before, because this is where I've let myself down in the past, where I've made a big statement about a whiskey, about whether I like, I really like this whiskey, and this is why I don't really like blind tasting. So if I've gone a bit, I have to use the magic hand. My focus obviously has been out there. I'll come back in a moment. It's not actually blurry. You lot are just drinking too much. It's sorry. Let's try and pull my focus back in. Find me. So I'll get there in a moment. Yeah, Frank, cheers. I totally agree. That's a bit of a blind struggle. Which one did I just say? Because that's very thin. Tell me I haven't watered 6 down twice. Right, I've changed my mind already there, and I'm going back on that and saying that 6 is now the Sagamore, which would make either 2 or 3 the rabbit hole. And I'm getting very close to calling this one. Two. Three. So I think 3's a rye. So I'm going to say that 3 is the rabbit hole, which would make 2. Just weird, but well, yeah, 2 could easily be the 1792 actually, because yeah. Well, there you are. I actually now, yet again, not fixed in this, but I do have 6 there that I suggest that's what they are. Graeme, before Graeme, as I say, goes in to check whether I'm right or wrong, I'm just going to go right through. I'm going to flick through them quickly here and see what I think. There may not be palate cleansing in between here, but 1 is a high ABV. If 1 isn't the Booker's, I'm going to put in brackets what I think it is. If it's, I'm saying that I think it's the Booker's. If it's not the Booker's, then it's either the New Riff or the 1792. So I'm not. This isn't a get out clause. This isn't a, you know. If I'm just saying that if I'm wrong, that's the other suggestion that I think it might be. 2. I'll tell you something this has done for me. It has worn me up. The sweat is pissing at me. I don't know if you can tell on there. Yeah. 2 could actually very easily be the 1792. So I'm actually quite happy with that one. Took a while to narrow it down to something. It may not be. And to be honest with you, if it's not, I don't know what it is. I'm struggling with that a bit. 3 I have as the rabbit hole. Certainly think it's a rye, so I'm going to stick with that. 4 I have as the New Riff. It's big ABV as well, so if it's not the New Riff, it's the Booker's or the 1792. Yeah. Graeme Horner says, "Where's your fan?" I could really have done with a fan in here tonight, mate. Really could. 5. It's a lot of bourbon to drink in an hour with a hangover. 5 I thought was the Jim Beam. I still think it's the Jim Beam because it's bottled at 43%. It feels like it's got age with it. It feels like there's wood, an awful lot of wood there. And generally I find that even to be bottled at 43% then, because it's 12-year-old, because it's got that bit of age, it feels like, you know, that you're getting the wood spice, which will tend to push the ABV and make the ABV feel. Sorry, Peter Box is asking. This is not. I wouldn't necessarily recommend this as Hair of the Dog, because it'll not be that long before I would be on my back again here. And sorry, I'll get back to that in a second. It's muggy down in Ireland. Yet again, anybody out there, any of our European friends or anywhere else, muggy to you. In fact, because Greg's Whiskey Guide would have he actually used a word recently, I think, whenever we were talking about the heat over there and how warm it was. And it's just muggy, it's just thick, wet heat. It's just I'm struggling to find a word to describe it now. Graeme, Whiskey Graeme, I will get back to you on that. I'm still working on that now. Well, I'll get back to you. So I've went through 5 there. This is the last one anyway. So the only one that I'm still a bit, the ryes are a wee bit, because I'm saying that 6 is the Sagamore. It may not be right. If 6, I've actually jotted it down here. If 6 isn't that, I feel that maybe it's the Jim Beam. So I've got a few get out clauses here that I'm going to use as excuses at the end if I get it wrong. Getting back to which Graeme asked, which ones are my favorite. So I'll tell you that now before I give you my final answers here. One, which I think is the Booker's. I'm hanging my hat on Booker's and saying if it's not Booker's, then a New Riff or 1792. But one would certainly be my favorite. The one, just even as soon as I poured this earlier, the nose was just awesome. I thought it just jumped. It's what I like in bourbons, and I'm hoping this is a bourbon and not a rye. But it's all I can say is it's my favorite out of the lot of them. It's big. Yet again, it's got volume, it's got grip, and it just jumps out of the glass at you. Love that. It could be a rye, could easily be. I don't know, but one's my favorite. 4, and yet again, I tend to be what I would consider to be the ones with the more grip, and it's a bit of it's been a bit of a debate recently, a bit of a debate recently among us in this group about higher ABVs and lower ABVs and that sort of thing. But what makes a better whiskey? Does it have to be higher ABV to be better? Of course, it doesn't. But in this case, I'm finding the ones with the bigger push, the ones with the more grip, are ringing my bell better. You know, they're so 4. There's a real cereal note in 4, and I thought 4 was the New Riff or the Booker's 1792, and it's weird because yet again, then you're looking at in the same groups as the first one. Could be wrong yet again. But yes, 4 would be my second favorite. So I'm actually going to give you my top 3 for now, and I'll think about it because I've got plenty of these samples left. So I'll maybe actually leave it tonight, take a bit of time over them, and I'll get back to you, Graeme, and let you know what I've thought over a bit of time, you know. But certainly, my Number 1 would be my favourite. Number 4 would be next. And I'm thinking, yeah, I just wanted to confirm it, but probably number 2 would be my third favourite. So, this is the bit you've all been waiting for, the bit where I make an ass of myself. Says you've been making an ass of yourself all night, Jim. No point changing now. I hate this bit. I genuinely hate this bit. Honestly, I mean, I appreciate you being here, so I don't really care if I dicked it up. It's what difference does it make? It was a bit of fun. I really enjoyed it. Really enjoyed. I'm making excuses. Always do this. Can't help myself. I really enjoyed making. Now, listen. Why? What we'll do is, before I reveal the actual answers, I'll keep this up as well. Yep, drum roll, people, drum roll. So I have, Booker's. I reckon number 1 is either Booker's, and if it's not, it's New Riff for 1782. I reckon 2 is 1782. So, if 1 is not Booker's and it's 1782, obviously 2's wrong. 3, I reckon, is Rabbit Hole. Sorry, just Graeme Horner. Yes, you're 100% right, my friend. But I have had my issues with Space Out. 3, I reckon's Rabbit Hole. 4, I reckon, yet again, it's either the New Riff. It's one of those higher ABV ones. 5, I reckon, it's the Jim Beam. And 6, it's Sagamore. Now, if I get any of these right, I'll be well pleased. Don't get any of them right. I don't really care. I enjoy drinking them. I appreciate you lot being here. I appreciate Graeme sending them to me. And I'm glad that now I've got a bit of time that I can sit over them and enjoy them. And these other numbers, 1, 2, and 3 were just, no matter what they are, those were the ones I enjoyed most. And those are the ones that once I know what they are, then I look at, I'll look into them further. Here it is. Jim, hopefully you enjoyed some of these. How did you do? Right, I didn't do very well. I can tell you straight off, I didn't do very well. So, 1 was not the Bookers, it was the New Riff. 2, I've completely balls this up. 2, and I will actually go back at some point, and I don't think I've got any of these right. 4, I did say, see those ones, oh man, that's so bad. Oh, so this is the actual answers, and this is what I gave. But what I will say is that 1 and 4, no, there's no excuse. Right, I didn't get any of them right. Oh, right. Fair enough. But what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take another quick blast through them. And knowing what I've got now, give you another, because I have the order of what I put them in. So 1 we now know is the New Riff. And I think you said, Graeme, earlier that New Riff, you found New Riff to be the most exciting, or one of the, a very exciting distillery. And for this to be, yeah, you're saying here we've got another New Riff lover. That was my favorite of the whole lot of them. And I haven't heard a whole lot about New Riff. So love it. Love it. Goes a little dry, but then I have had a lot to drink. 2 is actually the Rabbit Hole. So this is 47.5%, and it's a rye. I want to go back to my original. Let's see what I had. It's got answers all over the place here. And would you believe? And I'm not actually shitting you here. Originally had two as the Sagamore, and then on the palate the Rabbit Hole, and I changed my mind on that. So I was actually closer in the first pass, which would suggest I overthought it. Three is the other rye. Then three's the Sagamore, which originally I've definitely overthought this. Because not only did I have it in the final answers originally as being Sagamore, but I had it in this one as being the Sagamore, and then changed my mind. There you go. 4 is the Boogers, which I had as either the new riff or the 1792, because it is a high ABV. Three, I still wouldn't be a massive fan of. So this is the Boogers. I was actually very interested in it. As I say, I had it as my second choice. Higher ABV, goes dry very quickly. Very nice. And that was 4. And what did I originally have it as? Well, I actually had it as the 1792 or the new riff. So I was wrong anyway. But I knew it was the higher ABV. 5 is the 1792. Which one was the Jim Beam? Oh, 6 is the Jim Beam. So this is the one that Graeme Horner was talking about earlier. This is the 1792 ball at 49.3%. Originally, on the nose, I had it down as the 1792, but it was so soft on the palate. And this is the one that Graeme Horner said about, that it plays way, way below that 49.3% ABV. This is the one that I thought was the Jim Beam, because Jim Beam's bottle of 43%, and this feels really, really soft. It's actually very nice. Yet again, this 1792. Yes. Sorry, I got lost in that one for a moment there. And this is the Jim Beam, which I never got. The ryes will always throw you a little, I think. So this is Jim Beam. This is 12 years old. And I'm saying about the ryes throwing you a little. I actually considered number 2, which I thought was the 1792, which is a rye, which is the Rabbit Hole rye bottle, 47.5%. To be my third favorite. So there you are. That's the Jim Beam. This is all starting to go very dry with me. See, that's bottle of 43%. that feels higher than 43%. But then I did say this earlier on, that wood spice, and I actually did in my suggestion. Sorry, whenever I had written this down, if number 6 wasn't the Sagamore, I thought it was the Jim Beam, because it's something that, although it's only 43%, those 12 years in oak, to me, just seemed to, it's the oak spice. It makes it feel higher than 43%. There you are. I've made my excuses. I do feel slightly better now, because as much as I didn't get any of them right, I did have the reserves and said that if it's not this, then I think it's this. And especially the likes of number 6, I did say if it's not the Sagamore, I think it's the Jim Beam. It was the Jim Beam. The first one, you're looking at ABVs there. As I said, I'm making excuses for myself. Come on, give me a break. I'm making excuses. But those ABVs, what annoys me more is that I actually had a lot of the answers right in my first passes, and went through again and overthought it and completely changed all the answers from what I'd originally thought. Just shows you should probably, Occam's razor, isn't it? It's Occam's razor. Your first choice is generally the right one. There you have it. Listen, that's it, done. I've made a big enough ass of myself there, but I don't really care. I enjoyed it. I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I was really glad that you came and enjoyed it with me. I heard it. I seen a few you saying about, the fun of it. It's the fun of it is in the tasting and the doing, etc. And it is. I enjoyed that. It's a while from we've done blind tastings. There's a reason why I don't do them, and that was it. It's because I'm not. It's not that I'm not. I'm sure we've all done them, and it's when you. It's easier to. I think it's easier just to go, look, here's so many samples. What do you think? And I really enjoyed what Graeme did there, because he actually, I wasn't expecting, I didn't know what was going to be in that first envelope, and what was actually in it was the answers. I wasn't expecting that. I didn't know that he was going to tell me exactly what they were. So now I know. As I say, this one, number 2, that's the least that I have left. All the other ones, there's still more in the little bottle than that. So I'm going to go back in now, knowing what these are, and go in and enjoy them, take my time over them. I did have my favourites there. That new riff, really, really enjoyed that. Cheers, Graeme. Bookers, and yet again, what did it show me there? Well, it showed me that when put out a higher ABV, they do bring more to the table. Obviously, they bring more to the table, but they just improve. I have probably 10, 15 bourbons here, and most of them are your shelf, your supermarket bourbons that you'll buy anywhere. And most of them, for that reason, are, well, in fairness, I'll give it to a lot of the bourbon producers that they do bottle them at odd ABVs, 43, 45, all, that sort of thing. But there's a little more than your standard 40%, anyway, put it like that. And they're good. Some of them are good. I've got a couple of real good ones here I'm a big fan of. But I give it to Graeme. Graeme knows now. Graeme's been in the bourbon scene for long enough now that he knows where to go for the bigger hits. and I really do appreciate what he brought to the table tonight. So I'm going to wrap this up and finish it with my favorite of the night, the New Riff coffee. I'm actually getting coffee in that now, and not just coffee, but coffee sweets, as in coffee and chocolate. Very nice. Very nice. What was that bottle? Sorry, just before I go, what was that bottle again? That's a big hitter. 56.45. And surprising, the Booker's is balled at 62%, but this hits bigger. Yes. Anyway, listen, guys, really, really appreciate you all being here. I thoroughly enjoyed that. I'll be back next Monday night again with Monday Malt samples and a guest. Just to be a couple of samples getting hit. Don't know what it'll be yet. Haven't nailed it down, but I'll be here and I hope to see you as well. Thank you, Graeme. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Here's to your good health. Cheers.